Thomas Jefferson once said, all tyranny needs to gain a foothold is for people of good conscience to remain silent. Don't remain silent. You just jumped in the Pickle Barrel with author, speaker, commentator, and show host, Bill Pickles.
Good morning, and welcome. Glad to have you here in the Pickle Barrel this morning. Oh, what a beautiful morning. That's a good thing I didn't try to make a living singing, isn't it? But anyway, I do have a choir performance coming up in September. Yeah, forgot all about that. Okay, anyway. Different story, different time, believe me. Oh, thank you for joining us here this morning on August the 3rd, 2017. What a busy day we have in store for here in this hacienda. I hope all of you stay busy, stay healthy. But right now, you're doing the right thing by jumping in the Pickle Barrel with us this morning to discuss the issues of the day, maybe what we can do to drag us out of this pickle barrel we're in. And hopefully by discussing and addressing some of these issues, we can do just that. Now then, if you want to take part in the conversation, and we hope you do, we love it when you join the conversation. Pick up your phone, your iPhone, your Skype, or whatever, 712-770-4160. Then put in the PIN number, 263151#. And that'll get you in the queue. Now, let me repeat that number real slowly, so those of you that write more slower than some can write it down, like me. 712-770-4160, and then the PIN number, 263151#. That'll get you set up. Then when you get ready to talk and just want to jump right in, all you got to do is hit *6 and say, hey, Bill, this is so-and-so. I got a question or a comment. And we would love to hear from you. Okay, we got a lot to talk about, so we're going to jump right into it. We're going to take a mini trip down history lane this morning. And we're going to just forget things that happened in ancient history. We're going to move more into the more modern so we can get the heck on the stories we got today. Oh, Lordy. 1864, federal gunboats attack but do not capture Fort Gaines at the mouth of the Mobile Bay in Alabama. In 1882, Congress passes the Immigration Act banning Chinese immigration for 10 years. Well, we are going to be talking about immigration here in a few minutes, so remember that. 1908, Allen Allensworth files the site plan for the first African-American town, Allensworth, California. I wonder if there's any whites live there now. Just curiosity. 1911, airplanes are used for the first time in military capacity when Italian planes hit the Turkish lines near Tripoli. In 1914, Germany declares war on France. In 1945, Chinese troops under American General Joseph Stilwell take the town of Mayatkayana. I don't know, some town in Japan. And let's see, 1958, the first nuclear submarine, USS Nautilus, passes under the North Pole. Lordy. Oh, you football fans, 1975, the Louisiana Superdome is dedicated. 1977. This is a day that will live in infamy. Radio Shack unveils TRS-80, a personal computer, which Apple and Commodore would form the 1977 Trinity. Its price and the Radio Shack's established retail outlets made it a bestseller for several years. Radio Shack now, though, is shutting some of their stores. Have you ever noticed that? And I'm expecting the one in our hometown here to shut any day. I've been through there so many times in the last year and not seen another soul except for the young lady or the young gentleman behind the counter. And most of the time they don't know what don't have what I'm looking for anyway. Just a few comments there. 2004, State of Liberty's pedestal reopens to visitors after being closed following 9/11. Born on this date, some famous people. Ernie Pyle, World War II correspondent who wrote about the common soldier, was born in 1900. Oh, gosh. Tony Bennett, singer, I left my heart in San Francisco, was born in 1926. And the famous, infamous business magnate, television personality, Jailbird, Martha Stewart, was born on this day in 1941. Those are some of the things that happened. Let's talk about history we're making today. Let's just do that. All right. Well, I think what we're going to do, we're going to start here and just say to you that there's a lot of things happening. A lot of things happening. And some of it is ridiculous. Some of it is probably worth doing. But there's a gentleman that we all know very well who recently had a job, quite powerful job, position. And he no longer has that job. And he's on his way to become a bestseller, he hopes. Of course, we're talking about former FBI director James Comey. You know, there's been a lot of people that have done this that said, hey, I lost my job. Let me write a book. I'll become rich. Well, this guy is going to become rich. They say that he got a very hefty 5-figure upfront $1 million. Can you imagine? Hadn't even done anything yet and got $2 million. They're not saying 7-figure. They're saying 8-figure commitment on writing his book up front. Multi-million-dollar. Well, we're going to find out what old Comey has to say. He was fired, not that long ago by President Trump. He led the FBI for more than 3 years and previously worked with the Justice Department and then a lawyer, and now he's going to be an author. I've been trying to be an author for almost 3 years. I still hadn't got my book finished. No one gave me any money up front. I didn't have the motivation, I guess. But anyway, Flatiron publisher and President Bob Miller said in a statement that Comey faced many difficult decisions during his tenure serving our country and our leaders, and his book is expected to disclose some new anecdotes from his career. As Miller said, his book promises to take us inside those extraordinary moments in history. Yeah. Showing us how these leaders have behaved under pressure. By doing so, Director Comey will give us unprecedented entry into the corridors of power and a remarkable lesson in leadership itself. I wonder the leadership he didn't follow or the leadership that he at one time was providing and then kind of dropped down I don't know what he did. Anyway, within the past year, Comey led the investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails, as you know. He testified before Congress about the probes into troubles with Trump and his ties with Russia. So, he does have a lot to talk about and a lot of things to share. His book is set to be released in 2018. However, there's a little ixnay here, but due to his previous FBI employment, his book must undergo pre-publication review. Now then, they don't want a lot of things that shouldn't be given out, like top secret thing. I can understand why they would want to do this. But isn't it interesting that now that he no longer works there, he still got to get all this stuff approved? I mean, there's people not getting approved right now, getting things approved that do work there presently. But anyway, he's going to write a book. Multi-millionaire now. Congratulations. I don't care what you say. I got to say congratulations. I mean, the guy made it big. And now I wonder how many books he'll sell. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you I will or will not buy one of his books because I don't know. I probably will consider it. Be interesting to see what he's got to say. All right. Now, another guy that was on the brink, everybody thought he was on the brink of losing his job, is not going to lose his job as of today. Who knows tomorrow? Who knows? With the administration that we have and the leadership that is within, with the supposed leadership within the administration, who knows who's safe and who's not safe. But right now, according to the new White House chief, John Kelly, he met with and assured, well, he didn't meet him. It was a phone call. It was a phone call. Didn't take the time to meet him, just gave him a phone call. But anyway, he assured that Jeff Sessions that his job was safe over the weekend when he made this call. And the Trump officials made this comment officially that it was done. Well, the call was first reported by the Associated Press, of course, and that was over the weekend. Kelly just took the job Friday, remember? I mean, he's doing a lot already. He's gave a commendation, not a commendation, but at least told the guy he's going to keep his job. There's got to be some kind of vote of confidence, don't it? Unless it's another political ploy, until who knows. Anyway, the official said that Sessions is to keep his job and to keep his initiatives at the department, and that Trump's disappointment would lead to his firing. We've all heard that, right? And Trump has suggested that. I mean, it's not like we made this up. Trump, in his own words, suggested several times that Sessions would be gone in some form or manner. Anyway, Trump apparently still is angry at Sessions. Trump doesn't forgive and forget too easily. He's still upset with him because he recused himself in, the Russian probe, the questions and all that. But last month, which hasn't been that long ago, today's the 13th, so 14 days ago or a little bit more, Trump was slashing and bashing Sessions on internet, Twitter to be exact. And so anyway, it appears right now that Sessions still has a job, and God bless his picking heart. I'm glad he does. I just don't know. I'm really sometimes wonder why anybody would want to work in a position like that. I think it'd be fun. I think I would enjoy it, but it still question my sanity every day. So that's nothing new for me, right? So that's where we are on those two little things. Now then, the next biggest issue, I think, is very possibly the GOP clash that is about to take place over raising the debt limit. Yes, folks. Let's see. I cannot remember how many decades I have heard our legislators, those who want to be legislators, tell us that we are going to fix our budget crisis. We are going to fix our debt crisis. We are going to get ourselves in order. And by God, some of them even said we was going to have a balanced budget. So far, either they were misunderstanding what the term balanced budget meant, or cutting waste, or realizing that your expenditures have to be less than your income if you're going to have a balanced or a surplus budget. Somewhere they have lost the definition of what it means. Right now, Republican congressional leaders are quietly preparing a clean debt ceiling increase. Now, this is according to more than just two or three. This is several GOP sources saying this. And folks, this is setting the stage. This is like putting the people in one corner, Congress in the other. But I'm just not so sure how well the American people know how to box. And I'm afraid that we're going to have another raise in the debt ceiling, even after multitudes of legislators have said we are going to cut our budget. We're going to work toward having a more balanced budget. And there are those out there that forever have been members of different organizations to have a balanced budget. But so far, no balanced budget. You know, Trump administration officials led by Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin are imploring Congress to raise the $19.8 trillion debt limit with no strings attached by the end of September. Raise it with no strings attached. Another letdown by our administration and Congress. You know, you keep hearing all these people, trust me, get me in there. I am going to make sure, boom, bam. When they say make sure, take them off your ballot list. Take them off the list of those you're considering voting for. Because when they say, I am going to make sure, that just shows their ineptitude in understanding how the whole scheme of things work. If they say, I'm going to get in there and I'm going to try, I have a lot more faith in those people. You know, first of all, they're not, I would hope that that's not a lie. You know, it don't take a whole lot to say you tried. You know, you could attend one meeting and say something and you say, well, I tried. But what gets me is the number of people that don't even try. But yet, elect me because I'll make sure I am going to see to it that we get this stuff done. Baloney. Crude, but that's the way I feel about it. You know, the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, and Speaker Paul Ryan are well aware they need Democrats to pass a debt bill through the Senate, or on a broad, albeit begrudgingly so. You know, they got to do it, they think. But beyond the leadership, there are a few Republican takers, at least so far. GOP lawmakers in both chambers are calling for any debt ceiling hike to be accompanied by spending cuts and fiscal reforms. You know, this is the same demand that has been made repeatedly forever and ever and ever. What makes anybody think that our legislators are actually going to do that this time? Anybody want to make a bet? I am just about out of Diet Colas, and I need some more. I'll bet you a Diet Cola against a beer that it don't get done. Something wrong with that bet. Why am I going for the Diet Cola instead of the beer? Because I'm trying to lose more weight. Sacrificing. You know, Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan, are in a very precarious situation. You know, right now, for any of this to really take place, they will have to rely on Democrats and enough moderate Republicans to help them curtail or avert or put off, whatever you want to call it, a financial catastrophe come the end of September. I think it's actually the 29th of September when the deadline is, and this is the day the Treasury, quote unquote, is to exhaust its borrowing authority, and the very last day for Congress to act. Folks, September 29th is coming around the corner pretty darn quick. It's going to be very interesting to watch the fiasco, the hoorah, the science fiction flick, the terror that is going to be going on over the next 45 days, however many days that is, until September 29th. For one, this guy's not happy about this. You know, I have heard, I have talked to, I have listened to people for decades saying, we will have a balanced budget. We will. We will. Sure we will. Sure we will. The first informational tag I get this morning is diet soda is not a way to lose weight. That was a figure of speech. I've even given up diet sodas. You notice what I'm drinking right here? See this? Just pure old, terrible, lackluster, no taste. I hate what a waste of clear liquid. Yeah, water. I know it's valuable to your living, but you know, hey Dave, good morning. How are you? You know, water is a complete waste of clear liquid. You know it. But I haven't. All the fun out of it. It does. My doctor told me, Bill, you need to drink at least 180 ounces of water a day. Gag a maggot. Float the ark. Oh, God. I like swimming in water, but I don't like drinking the crap. Oh, gosh. Okay. Well, you know, I'm really concerned. Hello?
Before you move on, Bill.
Yeah.
There is a potential, very small, but potential good side to this so-called debt issue.
Okay, let's hear it. I need it.
Now, again, it's a very minuscule percentage that is going to happen the way it should, but anything is possible, and you just never know what's going to happen with the Treasury Department in place.
I keep saying that in life in general. Yeah.
Now, raising the so-called debt limit is not that big of an issue. Now, let me explain why. Not every time that they decide to do something like this does it affect, one, the national debt. This is where people get confused. There are several ways of raising the so-called budget limits and debt limits and things like that without it affecting the national debt at all. Now, remember, when the government needs money, how that process works is the Treasury Department releases a Treasury bond.
Mm-hmm.
Then the private company, the Federal Reserve, buys up that bond and issues new money.
Right.
So-called U.S. dollars in your pocket. That is what the national debt is those dollars in your pocket. It's the interest you pay on those dollars. That's the so-called national debt.
Yeah.
However, those bonds can be released there's two ways of doing this. One, the government bond can be released to private sale only.
Correct.
All right. Or the more direct route to handle all this, and the way that I hope we'll see sooner than later before Trump's terms are up here, is they simply release those new payments in U.S. notes.
Yeah.
Direct from the Treasury Department.
Right.
There is no, therefore, that dollar amount does not affect or show up on the national debt, none whatsoever. So there's ways of doing this. Has been making payments to the national debt.
Yeah.
And I would bet, and I said this before, that within the three, within this, whoever won this presidency didn't matter.
Yeah.
Whether it was Hillary or someone else. That before the end of their 4-year term here, matter of fact, in their 3rd year, there's a large portion of that national debt that is due. That payment is due. You're going to see that national debt be cut in half, if not more so. It's just a matter of how they plan on doing it. The only way to actually pay that debt is to use U.S. notes. So that system is going to be coming back into play in some way, some fashion, or at least the Treasury bonds and things like that. There's going to be a way that they have to manage to take care of this. So it'd be interesting to see how it plays out.
It's going to be very interesting.
So-called raising of the budgetary issues and things like that. They do have several budgets that have been proposed. Matter of fact, one a couple weeks ago came out of committee already. And that, as far as I know, that one is or was about ready to be passed. So there are budgets that are being passed right now from different departments and that are being looked over. The VA finally getting their act together. The other day they fired 500 VA employees.
And that's probably not enough.
Got the power to fire, so no more job security there.
Right.
People, you ain't your job, you're out.
Put up or shut up.
That's it. So they fired over 500 employees already, and I expect a lot more to yet to come from that department. So there are things underway. It does take time.
It does.
And it's just interesting to see how they're going to play this out over the next month and a half.
Well, Dave, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Who do you think has the best odds of winning here? Congress getting their act together and doing something that doesn't cost taxpayers a lot of money, or me winning the lottery?
Actually, I would have to vote if I was to be a bet man. I'd have to say Congress. Now, only reason I say that is because Congress will be accredited or given credit for certain things when really it won't be them. It'll be the Treasury Department or the president or something to that effect that will actually be able to handle this. Congress will get the credit for it, but they really don't even need to be involved in it, quite frankly.
Yeah.
When it comes to a lot of this stuff. And these are the things that are being in place now and put in place now. I don't think we're going to hear too much of an issue as far as debate-wise or even much news about the so-called September deadline. Because right now they have to focus on getting this tax stuff done, and that's a deadline as well. So that's why I'm not worried about the debt limit. If they do it as a Federal Reserve national debt limit or increase, it would be a temporary thing. Let's get it out there so this way we're covered. The U.S. is one thing I will say about United States and pre and post the 14th Amendment and all the rest. Has never once defaulted on its debt. Has never once defaulted on a loan.
Right.
So,
and that's an important record to keep in track, too, Yeah.
And there has been a few presidents over time that has actually paid the national debt in full. That debt has also been paid in full. We've had a zero national debt in the past. So it's not impossible to do. it can be done without inflation and deflation being affected. And for right now, I think with everything they have on the table, let the debt ceiling raise go up so we don't shut down the government again, or we don't have to worry about playing that game and worrying about that BS. Let it go up. It's going to be taken care of. That bill will be paid. And let's get the tax done because we're on a time limit there. After that gets through before the end of the year, then they can go back and focus on the rest of the individual budgets that still need to be approved through committee yet.
Right.
Like I said, most of them have been. Some of the bigger ones have been, like military and things like that, have been through hearings and committees already. So, it's only, I don't know how many different bills there are when it comes to the budget when they break it all down. So they have time for that. So it's not a panic situation.
Okay.
So it's, let's play it out the next few months and see what happens till the end of the year.
Yeah, next few months. Yeah, September 29th anyway. Well, Senate Finance Committee Chairman Orrin Hatch, Republican from Utah, for those of you that don't know that, who supports McConnell's strategy, says some conservatives think they can get some programs cut. Well, that's not going to happen. We have to pay our bills, and anybody who doesn't want to do that doesn't deserve to be here. Well, my instant response to that, well, let me finish here first. Compare that with Senator James Lanford's take. He said, he's the Oklahoma Republican who flatly responded no when asked whether or not GOP leaders should move so-called clean debt limit increase. He said flatly no. Said, you should never have you should never have a time when we deal with the debt ceiling that we're not dealing with the reason that we have debt ceilings, and that's the debt and deficit. So they should always be combined somehow. Now, any of you that has ever bothered to sit down and write a budget, now this is oversimplification, I know, and there's a lot more to it than what you have at your home. But anytime you sit down and work on a budget, don't you look at the debts as well as the assets? Don't you look at the expenditures as well as the income? I think that is all entailed in coming up with a viable budget. I know I may be old school, but you got the right way and the wrong way. I don't know. If you go back, Dave, what you were just talking about, if you go back and look in history, Democrats who have often kind of rebuked and rebutted a lot of things, but they have always seemed to come up with a number of them who vote to allow the GOP to avoid crises. And I'm saying that this budget could be a crisis. And right now, though, they're double thinking this. They're looking at their own demands with the Republican now in White House. Some Senate Democrats have floated seeking a reauthorization of health insurance programs for low-income children to return to their support. And House Democrats likewise are considering a play to leverage their own priorities. So, they're still out there wanting to play these games. And September 29th is coming up pretty quick, folks. It'll be here before you know it. Can you believe that we are in the third day of August already? I just finished putting all my Christmas stuff back up in the attic. Kind of slow sometimes. However, there are some upshots to this. Congress will return next month after their August recess that they were so afraid they wouldn't be able to take. They will come back and they will have, I don't think, any real straightforward, defined schedule or roadmap of avoiding the first default on the nation's debt. Now, that's my own personal opinion. Excuse me, I feel a sneeze coming on. Oh, excuse me. I can't remember the last time I sneezed. Well, just now. McConnell, according to some, and according to a couple of people I talked to yesterday, apparently is talking with people on the side about the issue. According to one GOPer, top Republicans are eager to avoid a repeat of the 2011 standoff between Congress and the Obama White House that led to the downgrade of the nation's sterling, quote unquote, one said, sterling credit rating. McConnell's office has declined any comment on that, by the way, to everyone I've talked to. John Cornyn, Republican from Texas, senator, says we're going to need to raise the debt limit. We're talking about different options. One option being considered is to roll a debt ceiling increase into a spending bill that must pass by September 30th to avoid the federal government shutdown. Moderate Republicans in the House, including Charlie Dent of Pennsylvania, Brian, I don't know if you're listening yet, but Pennsylvania is in play here, a leader of the Tuesday group, have been imploring House leaders to champion such a package so they can get something done on this. Well, Mulvaney took a hard line on the debt ceiling. You know, our congressman from South Carolina, who's now Office of Management and Budget, the director McManey, earlier this year insisted, and he said this more than once, many times, that spending cuts or other reforms should be part of any debt hike. He's taking a hard line on it. I'm wondering if he's going to maintain that hard line. But anyway, I don't think any of them want to risk another government shutdown, so I don't know if they'll either come up with some alternatives or if they'll just cave in and raise the debt limit again without any other thought or accomplishments about it. Okay. Anyway, just one of those things, right? Just one of those things. Okay. Talking about the debt, talking about some other things going on. We have Democrats. Yes, Democrats. Yesterday, we had a bipartisan display. We had Democrats who said they're going to back Trump on his China trade probe. Well, how about that? How about that? They say they're going to stand by Donald Trump as he prepares to launch an inquiry into Beijing's intellectual property and trade practices in coming days. Chuck Schumer, Senate Democrat leader, pressed the Republican president, Donald Trump, to skip the investigation, go straight to trade action against China. Say, don't waste time investigating to find exactly what's going on and the extent of it. Let's just put some restraints on China trade, and let's do it now. He said we certainly got to go after them. And I think he's right to a certain degree. We need to do that. But, you know, tensions between the United States and Beijing have really escalated since President Trump took office. And especially since he pressed China to cut the steel production to ease the supposedly oversupply of steel around the world, and to rein in North Korea's missile program. So, you know, tensions have been growing a great deal between Trump's administration and China, Beijing's leadership. And I think it's going to continue to rise. You know, we talked a great deal in the last few days about the tensions between the U.S. and Asia, not just China, but other areas. Russia, we'll talk about that here in a minute too, by the way, just a brief bit. But some sources say that there's current discussions that Trump was expected to issue a presidential memorandum in the next couple of days or so, even more than what he's already discussed. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. Very, very interesting. And it should rise. Time to knock down China is one comment in the chat room. We'll be interested to see if Dems want to shut down government over $1.6 billion wall within a $4 trillion budget. If they do, shut it down. Crying Chuck is a fool. That's why they want to do with impeachment of POTUS, because he's doing something as opposed to administration inaction. Neil, I had to say, you know, again, you know, we think on the same line there. I think a lot of it has to do with just that. So it's going to be very interesting to see what takes place.
The reason too why there's this.
How'd you know I need a drink of water?
Go ahead. The reason why there's so much pressure on China right now, and we have now the ability to look into some of their actions, is because few of us forget or may not even have known that China last year finally was accepted into the IMF.
Right.
That opens a whole nother ball game of investigations now.
Oh, yeah.
They're much easier for outside individuals like USA or other countries that are involved in the IMF look closely at what they're doing. So it ends the currency manipulations. Now we're talking about the trade issues and then, with China and stuff.
Going to be very interesting.
Oh, yeah. China has never overly been a friend nor an enemy to the USA, really. You know, China's always been about China. They really don't care about the influence that USA has, even at the UN level. We are a veto vote, and China really don't care.
Yeah.
China does what's best for China, and they really don't give a hoot what anybody says. So now that they're involved in the IMF, though, now they don't have a choice. Now they're, you know, now that scrutiny and different situations will come about. China needs to make a decision, and they need to make it quickly. Do they want to remain a trading partner with the U.S., and, you know, getting their goods in here as they are, and allowing open trade and a more equal trade of U.S. goods there? Or do they want to, you know, and start putting pressure on North Korea and their other people that China has influence over? They got to make some decisions. They're going to have to turn their back and join either USA, or they're going to have to make the decision that, no, we're going to stay our own course, be our own one China, screw the rest of the world, and we're going to let North Korea do whatever the hell it wants to do. So they've got a decision to make, and they got to make that decision very quickly here. And once they make that decision, they're going to have to live with it.
Yeah. You know, Dave, I think where we're at here is, once again, you know, over the decades, now, I know just in my lifetime, I cannot tell you how many times, you know, that proverbial pendulum has just been hanging there. And then all of a sudden it starts swinging back and forth, back and forth. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. The pendulum has sit kind of relatively still over the last few years, but it kicked off swinging, and it looks like it's starting to swing a little bit farther. And it's going to be interesting to see it all stop where it stops, where we're at on this. It's going to be very interesting. I think we're in for some surprises, possibly. But on that respect, let me just tell everybody right now at the top of the hour, well, actually around 9:30, we've got a gentleman that's going to be joining us here that their organization, their company, has moved a large part of their company here in South Carolina, just a few miles down the road from me here in Florence. They put their manufacturing plant in Manning, South Carolina. Beautiful little place, close to Lake Santee, beautiful lake. And so he's going to be joining us, and we're going to be talking about his company and some of the things that influenced them to bring this plant to South Carolina, in the hundreds, thousands of jobs that's going to become that have come with it. So he's going to be joining us. He tried to get in yesterday, but had the wrong phone number. His staff passed it on to him and didn't give him the right number. He did tell me that it was the staff's fault, not ours, not mine, thank God. And so we're looking forward to have him here. And it's going to be very interesting, his take on some of this. Okay, so that is one of those issues that's laying out there, and we're going to be talking about it. Just to throw some more intel on this, the investigations, there was a, oh gosh, I think it was U.S. Section 301, I think, investigation that went on, but they have not led to any trade sanctions since the World Trade Organization was launched in 1995. And so who knows what's out there that are lurking that we just haven't uncovered yet in this trade war that we're entering. But either way, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. And China has said, although, the U.S. has countered this, that the two nations, that they have had nothing to do with anything with North Korea's nuclear program, and that they see absolutely no link between that and American trade. So that's one issue that they're going to be looking at. So anyway, it's going to be interesting to see what takes place on that. Speaking of trade, we all know by now, U.S. Donald Trump grudgingly, apparently, signed into law new sanctions against Russia on yesterday, a move that Moscow said amounted to a full-scale trade war and an end to hopes for better ties with the Trump administration. Well, la-ti-da. Anybody that is surprised that took place, please call the ambulance right now. I don't want you having a stroke, but it was coming. Congress overwhelmingly approved the legislation last week, passing a measure that conflicts with the Russian president's desire to improve relations with Moscow. Trump signed the bill behind closed doors without fanfare. Can you imagine that? He actually did that. That has customarily accomplished anything and everything he does. He criticized the measure as infringing on his powers to shape foreign policy and said that he would make far better deals with governments than Congress did. He just did not like what Congress did. And so he said, well, I'm just going to do my thing. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. And there it is. Folks, right there is an example of why people elected Donald Trump. Fully with the games, I'm going to do it. Gets his ink pen and signs it. By gosh. So, Prime Minister in Russia called the sanctions tantamount to full-scale trade war, adding in a Facebook post that they showed the Trump administration had demonstrated utter powerlessness. He said the hope that our relations with the new American administration would improve is finished. Dot, 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 dot. How many times we heard that? Now, something that does concern some people on this is that, you know, these trade measures possibly could have some issues with Iran and North Korea. They were added into this issue. And it's going to be interesting to see how. Trump said in a message to lawmakers known as signing statement, he said he also issued a statement for the press about the bill. He did let that out there, so it wasn't all done in secret. He did let it go. But the new law allows Congress, which passed a measure to punish Russia over interference in the 2016 U.S. elections, presidential election, and the annexation of Ukraine's Crimea, to halt any effort by Trump to ease sanctions on Russia. So I think that Russia's President Trump's hands have been tied and by Congress, and I think that well, he just did what he thought he had to do. He always said he wanted to improve relationships with Russia. If you remember that, time and time again, he has said, we want to improve relationships with Russia. No holds barred. We want to do that. Well, that was stymied, wasn't it? That was stymied. But anyway, this is going to see what happens. Paul Ryan, you know, the speaker, the Republican House of Representatives Speaker, said this sends a powerful message to our adversaries that they will be held accountable. Okie dokie. So we'll see how that goes and where that takes us. And who knows? Who knows? All right, let's double check the chat room again, see conversation. Let's see. POTUS only balked at bill as it does infringe on the executive branch. Someone else made that same comment to me yesterday when I was talking to them. Our strength is in our strength. I think what you're trying to say there, Dave. Our strength is in the air. Mainstream media says he had no choice. Not true. Could have just let it go into law this Friday without signing. Could have vetoed, made Congress override. Their main strength is the red horde. We'd have to nuke as not have enough bullets. All right, Dave says, yes, and that sadly will be the equalizer. Using nukes would not be good for anybody. You know,
what we're talking about.
Yes.
Just to bring you up, so you know, because people are a little bit lost by some of the comments you just read. What we're actually discussing in the chat room is, of course, not real world, but let's say computer simulation is what I said. It's interesting to see. China does have biblical numbers of the largest standing army.
Yes.
And I was saying, yes, they have the bodies, but they're still behind in the equipment, where USA has technology and equipment side of this. And we're just comparing and running simulations as far as what would happen, what would the end results be if it was a war versus USA versus China type situation.
Right.
Not bringing in any allies or including anybody else, just comparison of equipment. And that's where that our strength comment is in the air. Since Neil has informed me that, yes, they are now equal in actual naval ships to us. We now have reach numbers and ship capacity. But our strength are still in the air. Now, of course, and this is where the red horde comes into play on the China side, and they just don't have enough bullets with all the infantry they have. They probably don't have a large enough bullet supply, and this is where that nuke would have to come in. And so that would be China's equalizer in a battle against U.S. You know, there would have to be the nuclear scenario would have to be incorporated into any kind of computer simulations. It's just an interesting topic. Hopefully the world never ever sees this, and it never comes down to that, where it's, us versus them kind of situation. Because quite frankly, in that type of situation, it wouldn't remain just a one-on-one, one versus one battle. It would incorporate allies and outside forces, and sadly, because of China the way they are set up militarily, and they've been expanding throughout the China Sea. And
well, Dave, you do realize.
This would not be a good thing.
Right. It sure would not. Matter of fact, it's been foretold. I mean, I remember when Charleston Heston fell on his knees at the Statue of Liberty on the beach of the ocean, screaming, "You did it! You did it! By God, you did it!" See? So it's already been foretold that it's going to take place. And matter of fact, if Candy is still listening in, I never have gone to see the Ape movie yet. I just have not had the time. But I'm going to try to sneak that in over the weekend or maybe next week. My wife's got some all-day meetings, and some of them's going to be out of town, so I might just treat myself to a movie. But anyway, all right. Well, I tell you what, we're at the top of the hour. We're going to go ahead and take our break right here. And we have a plethora. I'm going to use that word more often. I like it. Plethora of things to talk about. And we have our special guest coming at 9:30. So during the break, everybody get on your computer, get on your cell phone, whatever you're doing, share the link, drag people in here and tell them they want to listen to this. And they may be able to help us get out of the pickle barrel. So let's take a break. We'll be back up here in 2 or 3 minutes. Dave, whatever you want to play. 2 or 3 minutes is fine. Then we'll be right back at the top of the hour and get started on a new story. We'll be right back here in the Pickle Barrel. All right. Thank you, Dave. Thank you. Welcome all of you for being back with us here in the Pickle Barrel. And I hope you did send some messages out to everyone you know to join us. And I would invite you to join us in our conversation also. You can do it in the chat room on Facebook Live, or you can go to the AmericanPatriotRadio.com site. Become a group member. It makes things a lot easier for you. And you can go in there and you can enter the chat room and chat with the rest of the big boys over there. And even do one more step. You hear a lot of conversation between myself and a group of people. We'd like to expand that group of people and invite you to join us on air and share your thoughts, your commentary. And you can do that by calling 712-770-4160 and then put in the PIN number 263151#. And you can listen in right there until you get the urge to really just jump right in here and take part live on air. And when you do decide to do that, hit *6, and you will automatically be there and be infamous by being on the show in the Pickle Barrel. You can tell all your friends you are live in the Pickle Barrel. Okay, glad to have you here with us. All right. We mentioned the word immigration earlier, and I want to spend a few minutes now talking about that bill again, or that subject again. It is a subject that will not go away no matter how hard and how much we wish it would disappear. It is not going to disappear. And President Trump came out yesterday for a bill that would reduce illegal immigration by 1/2 over the next decade. Now, he's talking about legal, I repeat, legal immigration. You know, this had nothing to do with illegal. This is legal. Trump joined Senators Tom Cotton of Arkansas and David Perdue of Georgia to present a revised version, I'll call it revised, of the so-called RAISE Act, Senate Bill 354-115, which the senators introduced in February. Now, there were some changes, but like the original version, the revised bill would, over 10 years, reduce legal immigration roughly 500,000 people annually, down from the current level of right at 1 million. Now, these are legal, okay? The bill will favor those that have family ties in determining who may immigrate to the U.S. and would I won't quote this part of it here. I made a point to circle this. Would represent the most significant reform to our immigration system in a half century, said President Trump. Okay. Personally, I think it's probably a good deal. Realistically, I don't know. I think it still has a lot to be desired as far as our congressmen and senators believe. And it's going to face some pretty stiff times. I think it's going to be something like hoping to throw it against a brick wall and make sure it all sticks. I don't know how much of it will stick, if any of it. Lindsey Graham, gosh, it seems like I've mentioned his name a lot lately, but he's been more vocal lately. That's our senator here in South Carolina. Wrote a statement saying that while I've always supported merit-based immigration, the bill's halving of immigration would be devastating to our state's economy. Now then, you can say whatever you want about Lindsey Graham. Some of you think he's okay. Some of you think he's the scourge of the earth. He's dirt. He's trash. He's just a Southern nobody. But I will tell you what. Immigration is something that South Carolina depends a lot on. We've got our fair share of legal immigration here. We've got our fair share of illegal immigration here. I'm not arguing the good, the bad, and uglies of either. I'm just telling you that in South Carolina, which is a huge agricultural state, tourism and agriculture is our number 1 and 2 resources of income for the state. And believe it or not, we've got a lot of people unemployment here in South Carolina that will not work because they don't want to have to get their hands dirty. They don't want to have to work out in the fields. A large number of them says this would be what my ancestors did, and I am not going to do it. So we're going to take welfare, unemployment, and all this other stuff. So where do you get the help that you need to do the job that you need to get done? You have to rely on immigrants. You got to do it. You got to do it. Now then, we have a combination of issues here. We got this, and we got the illegal immigration bill. And there's a couple of other things floating around too, and they kind of intermingle. Neil, you're absolutely correct. There's several of them out there. But folks, listen. It would be a disaster to agricultural states where unemployment is low and there's a great need for those who will work. South Carolina's unemployment rate right now is low compared to what it has been and compared to what some states are, very low. And so when you couple that most people that want a job have a job with a big need for more people to work, where are you going to get them? Not justifying, just stating a fact. Everyone here knows I am against illegal immigration. Illegal immigration, those people are not immigrants. They are not immigrants. They're illegal. They're illegal. But Trump, along with Cotton and Perdue, stressed that the reduction in legal immigration and a shift to skill-based admissions would boost wages for U.S. workers and promote economic growth. Yes, it would in those areas. You know, there's a big difference between high-tech immigration and get your hands dirty in the mud immigration. Folks, believe it or not, both are needed sometimes. But I have to agree with Cotton. You know, I've talked with Cotton several times over the past years, and I feel like he's always shot straight with me when he's been here on tours with some of the other elected officials. You know, matter of fact, we was out at one of the big agricultural areas at a meeting under their sheds out there where they sell their goods, some of their goods. And we were talking about this, and he told me, Bill, he said, look, we have a need for manual laborers. You know, all immigration does not need to. Now, listen to this. He says all immigration is not going to be high tech. But here we are now fighting right against that. I guess the call for less immigration is stronger than the call of those needing to be working out in the fields. Who knows? Anyway, that's one of the things going on. So the legislation would eliminate the diversity visa lottery, which makes available 50,000 visas to people from countries with low rates of immigration to the U.S. In addition, the bill would cap annual refugee admissions to 50,000, the level that Trump called for in the travel ban executive order that he issued back in March, if you remember correctly. So, you know, I guess we're there, okay? One of the other issues on this is the Senator Graham Durbin. You know, they introduced the Bipartisan Dream Act. In a bipartisan move, the two senators announced Thursday, which, you know, you've heard very little about this, very little. But they introduced a bill Thursday. That was Thursday, let's see, 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. So it's been about 2 weeks now since that bill was actually put out there, where they wanted their intention to grant legal status to a group of undocumented immigrants brought to the U.S. as children. We've talked about this over and over and over again over the last 10 years, 8 years, 10 years. God, it's been a long time since I've been doing these type of shows. But the bottom line is they're still wanting to, they don't believe that young people should be held responsible for the errors of their adults. And I'm not going to get into this in that much depth again this morning. We got other things to talk about. But that is still a big issue to a lot of people. And that's just a huge issue. I'm going to set this aside, and we will talk about this later, but not this morning. I just wanted to bring it up that there are other people working on issues that do with illegal immigration, not just this one committee. So I want to set that one aside for future conversation. Okay, we got a lot of chat going on. Let me check over here and bring everybody up to date on this. Immigration is supposed to be good for both sides. What? Only because they have no backbone, or is bringing unskilled and undereducated people in the U.S. is good for us. If they were good for the economy, their country wouldn't suck. Okay. Ken, I think there's one that we may disagree a little bit on. Not totally, but some on, okay? Graham is, let's see here. Illegal of H-2B visas, legal immigration would be would do a few things. Will show preference to skilled immigrants, but business now uses HB visas to bring them in already. Why not make them citizens of the U.S. instead of making money and sending home to another country to separate and different topics? It would get rid of the constant flow of immigration from generation to generation comes in, brings in family, that brings in, okay. If you want to fix the illegal problem, you need to slow or stop immigration to do any type of reform. Neil, right there is a kicker, my friend. And, you know, you cannot control it if you can't control it. And right now, we can't really control it. Now, according to all the things I hear and read, our illegal immigration issue has diminished greatly. I've read several reports over the last several months that, you know, X number, we're talking not just hundreds of thousands, but we're talking like millions of people that has dropped off that list. You know, we're not having it as bad as we used to. So who knows what the real numbers are anymore? I don't think anybody knows. I don't think anybody ever knew what they were to start with when we started going down this road, personally. But anyway, there's a lot of information doing about that. We're going to talk about this again in the near future, and also the deferred action for children arrivals, things like that. But we do not have time to get into that topic today, and when I do, I want to make sure we have time to discuss it right. Okay, here we go. We got another comment. Illegal immigration is easy to fix. Legalize all the work programs. And natural order is that eventually they will die off and generations born here are U.S. citizens. No more illegals. God, that sounds easy, don't it? That sounds easy. Sounds easy. You know, but the bottom line still comes back to one thing. We've got to control the borders first. Got to control the borders. If we had complete control of those borders, just look at all the things that we could control. Not just illegal immigration, but how about the drug wars? How about human trafficking? There's just all kinds of things that could be circled up and taken care of if we could just control the border to start with. Interesting, interesting, interesting. All right. Dave, we should have our guest calling in the next 15 minutes or so. When he gets there, if you would, just let me know. I'd appreciate it. Oh, gosh. I'm going to set that aside, too. That's got more to do with immigration than I want to talk about also. Oh, I tell you what, we got enough to talk about this. McCaskill, Missouri Democrat, Claire McCaskill, has made the move to cultivate a familiar brand during her 10 years in the Senate. She is one of those that you would say has been a very fervent person in the looking at bad things that are going on. Some say that she is a dogged, is one. I saw one publication. I think that was, I'm not sure which one it was now, but I remember reading someone refer to her as a dogged investigator. And she is. And she is someone that is very ambitious, very aggressive when it comes to talking about waste, fraud, and abuse. Folks, We're talking about a Democrat here. Yes, we are, truly. One of these blue dogs that I keep talking about, okay? She has found her next target. She's going to try to take on the pharmaceutical industry. And Dave, I know that's one of your pet peeves. She's going to go in there with her cape and she's going to bullfight the pharmaceutical industry. She was talking to voters earlier this month in her area, and she compared the drug makers who deny the addictive properties of opioids and to cigarette makers that told people for years that tobacco is not bad for your health. Remember those days? That changed, didn't it? She says we can't do anything and I don't believe that she means that. I really don't think she believes that. You know, she is on the Senate's Governmental Affairs Committee. Matter of fact, she's the top of it. She's the top Democrat. She is using her oversight authority to probe the opioid industry. She is looking at not just what they're making, but their marketing. She's trying to come up with a reasonable explanation on how the highly addictive drugs sparked a wave of overdose all across the country. I'm telling you right now, I have got stacks of things here where every single day when I am trying to scan all the news sites, reporting sites on the internet, plus the ones that I pull up and read, the ones that I have that send stuff to me, daily, every friggin' day, opioid. It's a catastrophe that's taking place. It's been building for years. Dave, I want to drag your name into here. You don't need to respond unless you just want to. Dave has said for years, it's the drug companies that run the world and ruin the world, more or less. I'm kind of speaking in large context, Dave. That they're the ones that control everything. If we got our drug control situation, the pharmaceutical companies under the weather and under our fist, that we could hold them down and all that, would be a much happier, much safer, much more well-healing nation without them than we have with them. And apparently, on the opioid side of it, for sure, we do have an issue. So what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? Well, McCaskill says they are going to probably try to get rid of her since she's being so vocal. So she's already watching what's going on the election front in her home state. She's coming up for re-election. And so she says that there's already been tons of money put out there to her possible opponents. Can you imagine? For Republicans in her home state, McCaskill's claims to be an apolitical straight talker are belied by a voting record in which she has aligned with her party on most major votes under Trump. She did vote against confirming 8 of Trump's cabinet nominees, though she supported more than half of his overall slate. She has opposed all but 2 of the 13 measures the president has teed up, the GOP has teed up against this year to roll back Obamacare regulations. Well, that one doesn't surprise me. And some of the GOPers, executor, one of them particularly is Austin Stuckins, executive director of the Show Me States GOP, said you can't continue to vote with Elizabeth Warren 86% of the time and expect Missourians to continue to be hoodwinked. In other words, he's saying, look, you can't vote 86% of the time with the Democrats and expect to pull the Republicans over for your support. You got a point there, but sometimes folks, listen to me. Sometimes isn't it the bill that is more important? Oh God, am I going to get some message today on this comment? Isn't it sometimes more important to take care of the issue, the problem, than it is to worry about whether you're Democrat or Republican? Don't you think sometimes the issue at hand should supersede whether you're a Democrat or Republican? Sometimes, don't you think maybe you need to support a bill or a program because it's right instead of fighting it because the people who came up with it happen to be of a different political agenda? Folks, I know I'm going to make some. I've been good at making people mad this week. I have got some nasty messages. Woo, some nasty messages. But, I for one, Neil, I see what you're saying. But I tell you, I'm for one that says, we got to have some bipartisanship. We cannot continue going down this road my way or the highway. Or we can continue getting as much accomplished as we have in the last decade in Congress. Just my thoughts of the day on that. McCaskill is one of those that has questioned the wisdom behind the medical industry push in the 90s to treat pain as a vital sign, which has helped make opioids a standard fixture in hospitals and everywhere. It's, here you are, you've got this Democrat, this liberal Democrat saying these things. And by the way, she says, I loved this when I saw it. By the way, you're supposed to have a little pain when you're in the hospital. She said that. She said that. Now that's been, oh, Lordy, Lordy, Lordy. She was talking about this back in 2012 when her mother was in the hospital dying. She began her probe by seeking sales and marketing data from 5 leading manufacturers aiming to map the industry's role in misrepresenting the extremely habit-forming drugs as not addictive. She's got a fight on her hands. I wish her all the luck in the world, personally. I wish her all the luck in the world. And you know what? I think I am going to try to get her to come on air. Matter of fact, I want to put my little notes here together, and I am going to try my best to get her to join us in the Pickle Barrel. And let's see if we get any response on that one. I'll make a little note here, call. And we're going to put that in my to-do stack right up there for the day. Okay. Got some more chat going on. I can hear it going doop, doop, doop. Okay, let's see here. It's about power. Oh gosh, Neil. Preaching to the church members here. It's about power. Trump is proving it can be done. Hey, Vito, how are you this morning? Vito says, I'm willing to vote in those candidates who support the Trump agenda. Dems will not work with the GOP. End of story. If GOP thinks Dems will go along and modify and repeal Obamacare, they're grossly mistaken. Healthcare is the big oops in this whole philosophy of working together, isn't it? Neil says Dems will work with GOP as long as the GOP does what they say. That's Chucky's theory. You know, Neil, that is such a true statement. Vito said that, and I'm putting an exclamation mark on there, Neil. I really am. I really am. So, those are some of the things going on. Now then, someone asked, and here you go. I haven't paid a whole lot of attention to this one, I'll be honest with you. But someone asked me about the ethics investigation into Trump domestic emollients issue. First of all, I want to tell you, I haven't paid that much attention to it. I'll be honest with you. Okay? But the ethics, the government office overseeing the ethics policy for these type of investigations said that his office lacks jurisdiction to examine whether benefits Trump gets from the federal government dealings with his private businesses run afoul of the domestic emoluments clause in the Constitution. So they're saying that they're keeping their hands and nose out of it, more or less, what they're saying there. So that's that. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Dave, when our caller calls in, just go ahead and just let me know, okay? Good morning, sir. How are you? Good morning.
I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
I am doing wonderful. I just got the message that you're there. Glad to have you here with us this morning. Folks, we have, I believe this is Arnold, isn't it?
It is indeed.
Okay, Arnold Kamler. Is it Kamler or Kamler?
Kamler.
Kamler. Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Don't call me late for dinner. Okay.
There you go. There you go. You can call me whatever you want to. Just make sure I hear the dinner bell, right? All right. Just kind of a preamble here. Nearly 2 years ago, Kent International CEO, our guest here, Arnold Kamler, opened a bicycle factory in Manning, South Carolina. Now then, this is the first bike plant that was built in the U.S. in many, many years. So I'm not going to go much further than that right now. And Arnold, if you would do this for me, introduce yourself, tell everybody exactly what your company does, and then we're going to start discussing some things. I am hoping that people will be very interested in hearing about you and this big move.
Okay, Bill. Actually, the factory opened in October of 2014. We had in our presence the Honorable Governor, now Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley. Our company was started by my dad in 1958. We've been in the import bicycle business since then. We did American manufacturing in New Jersey from 1979 until 1990, when we quit due to really unfair competition from China, and we were liquidating ourselves out of business. So we ceased the manufacturing at that point and went back to just importing, thinking that we would never get back into manufacturing again. But Kent is our main brand that we sell. We do a lot of private label for people like Toys R Us and Academy Sporting Goods and Walmart as well. And altogether, we sell almost 3 million bicycles a year.
3 million bicycles. Wow.
One year. It is kind of amazing when you stop and think that the bicycles are actually purchased one at a time in the retail stores and online.
Wow.
So the factory in South Carolina, we started very slowly. We made about 50,000 bicycles in 2014. This past year, or this year that we're in, we'll produce just under 300,000 bicycles there. And the plan for 2018 is to produce about 450,000 bicycles in South Carolina. Mm-hmm. We have 130 employees right now, and we should be up to about 160 by midway of next year.
Wow, that's outstanding. That's outstanding. Adam, I did a little research on you and your company myself, and we just got through talking about a little bit about immigration and the fact that is immigration is good for us in so many different ways, as well as it can be harmful. But your father, I'm sorry, your grandfather, I believe it was an immigrant from Russia. Is that correct?
That's correct. 1906.
1906. Okay. So your family's history is going back a long ways now. Now, the way I understood it, that when he came here, he opened up a bicycle shop. I believe it was in New York City.
That's correct, in the Lower East Side of Manhattan.
Okay. Okay. So your family has been in the business a long, long time. Now, moving your company or that part of it to the U.S. was not an easy decision, was it? Or was it?
Well, no, it was no. I mean, my grandfather, who died just before I was born, unfortunately, and I'm named after him, just worked in a bicycle shop when he was in Russia, and so it was what he knew. And so when he got here, but they left everything behind, as most of the immigrants from Eastern Europe did at that time, and just started from scratch and got help and housing from family until he was on his own. And so yeah, it wasn't a matter of relocating because of the of business. He just looked for a better life that existed in the United States.
A better life that exists in the United States. How many times we hear that? I think America is great, personally, Adam. I think America is great. Okay, so now how many people do you, I'm going to ask you some questions if you don't mind answering them. How many people do you have working at your plant now?
Oh, there's 130 right now in South Carolina.
Okay. All right. 130 people that may or may not have had previous jobs, but now that sounds to me like they've got a future with your company. It's got a history behind it. And with your client list,
I would say probably about half the people, or about 2/3 of people, actually were working, but they were working in jobs that maybe weren't as nice as they were. Like I won't get into too much, but food processing plants where smell gets pretty nasty, and just difficult working conditions. We have a really nice plant that we have air conditioned, and we keep the temperature inside the factory at a max temperature of 74 degrees. Sometimes people complain it's too cold down there.
Well, my wife would be wearing a coat in there, 74 degrees. I'd be taking my shirt off. Okay, so let's talk a little bit here. Okay, your history goes back to 1905. Now, your company still has a factory in China. Am I correct there?
That's correct. No, it's a very large factory near Shanghai in a city called Kunsan.
Okay.
And actually, the people from China invested into our company in 2010. They bought a minority interest in our company, and they're wonderful partners. And when I made the decision back in 2013 that I would like to set up USA production again. They were a little bit skeptical at the beginning, but even with majority interest, I still would not have done to my partners if they didn't agree. And they actually embraced it, and they love the idea of reshoring now.
So I'm looking at the area. I'm in Florence, by the way, South Carolina.
Okay, not too far away.
Right. Matter of fact, I'll be driving through Manning as soon as I get off the show on my way to Beaufort. But the bottom line is this, even in this area, when companies come in, they're either going to have to build new factories and plants, or they're going to take some existing locations, redo them, and things like this. Either way, it's good for the community. I am supposing that Manning was just overwhelmed with you coming in there.
They were thrilled, and we actually took over a building that had been vacant for more than 10 years. It actually had been the site originally of a Sunbeam appliance factory.
Okay.
You probably know the building.
Yeah, I know the building now. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so actually when you're on your way, if it's during working hours, you should just stop in and get a little tour. It's pretty cool what we've done. But the building was in the structure of the building was okay, but it was in complete disrepair.
Mm-hmm.
We had to 100% replace the heat and the air conditioning and electrical system, and replace so many of the floors. And we put you talk about money we put into the local economy. Between the repairs and maintenance and installation of new equipment, we had committed to spend $4 million. Well, we're at about $9 million right now in investment there.
Thank you very much. I bet they're saying.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. Oh gosh. So now I would presume, now this I don't know for sure, but I'm sure you have some high tech things in there too, don't you? Modern technology, robotics, things like this.
We do. The wheel building, when you're going to make 300,000 bikes as we are this year, that means 600,000 wheels.
Wow.
And so we have one machine, or actually three of them now, that actually drop the spokes into the hub. Then the worker takes the hub and they feed it into another machine, not a robot, but it's a nice automated piece of equipment.
Right.
That actually will then meet the spoke and tighten it through the rim. And then we have another machine that's a spoke tightener, which is done. There's still plenty of operators.
Mm-hmm.
And then we actually have a robot that actually tightens in the spokes, all the spokes, and aligns the rim so that it's within 1 millimeter on an up and down and side to side tolerance.
Wow. So
on the other side, we have a lot of assembly lines and conveyors, but not to automation in that area. But I made the pledge to South Carolina and to myself that while we would be looking to automate, we would not automate with the idea of reducing jobs.
Okay.
We would automate with the idea of becoming more competitive on a global basis.
Mm-hmm.
And, we started with 48 workers. We're at 130, and so that number is going to increase. But we're hoping with the machinery and expecting to be more efficient and more economical. Outstanding.
Well, I thank you for considering the actual working people out there. That's great. Thank you again. Well, let's see here now. I'm not that familiar with the bicycle business, but you said you had how many bicycles you built now?
About 300,000 this year in South Carolina, and altogether about, including the import, about 3 million. 3 million.
Goodness gracious! We have a deal right now going on in Florence where our city council has put out a questionnaire about should we have bicycle lanes on our streets. And, be honest with you, I have seen, any given day, you'll see 5 or 6 people riding bicycles, but I had never thought about that many people actually riding bicycles. In Europe, when my wife and I visited over there, first time I went to Amsterdam, I can't tell you how many bicycles are over there. How many of those are yours by chance?
Well, unfortunately, none of them are mine at this point. But the funny stat that I learned when I was over there as well is that there's 800,000 people living in Amsterdam and 1.1 million bicycles.
Exactly.
But that's
you're exactly right. I got goosebumps right now because I read that exact thing when I was there. And they got huge parking lots, bigger than the town of Florence, for bicycles. Oh Lord!
But you mentioned the bike lanes, and this is a serious challenge right now. That we certainly need more bike lanes. But in addition to the bike lanes, one of my pet projects these days is to just ask the police, please, to enforce the distracted driving.
Oh yes.
There's 20 people killed every day by distracted drivers, and about 80 by drunk drivers, about 20 by distracted, and they can't do anything about the alcohol. But and even my 2 sons, I yelled at them constantly, just get off your phone.
Yeah.
What's so important? and there's something important for me, I'll pull off onto the shoulder and
Right.
reply. I mean, of course, I got the hands-free telephone,
Mm-hmm.
But texting, no excuse. But anyway, the
Yeah.
bike lanes are great, and they're
Yeah.
fun. And the next movement in bicycles is going to definitely, you're going to start to see the e-bikes,
Mhm.
pedal assist bicycles becoming more prevalent.
Right.
We start to figure out who's going to take care of the service, but we do need bike lanes.
Yeah.
And, hey, the thing that adults who haven't been on a bicycle quickly realize when they get on a bicycle, they go on vacation, they go like my goodness, it's really fun to ride a bicycle, and it all comes back to you, the feeling of when you rode a bike as a kid. When we'd go out riding for 3 hours in the morning and 6 hours in the afternoon. What the heck we did all day, I have no idea, but we were doing something.
I remember everywhere I went, I used a bicycle. I know when I was a kid mowing yards for $1 for the front yard, $1 for the backyard. You won't find that cheap labor anymore. I had a little thing I put on the back of the bicycle where I could actually connect my lawnmower and pull it. And, it was unreal. I put a little horseshoe shaped thing that I screwed on, bolted on, and I got me a little hook that I hooked on that, and of course it would wobble all over the road behind me. But anyway, Yankee ingenuity. Well, I agree with you 100% on the distracting driving and the drunk driving. And for your information, every April I do a show specifically on those two issues, and I do that show every year. I had 2 children that were killed by a drunk driver. And so it's a major issue for me. And thank you again. I'm thanking you a lot for some of the things you're doing. And I mean it sincerely. I will be by your plant one day. I wish I had time to do it this morning, but I've got to be down there at noon, and it's about an hour and 45-minute drive. So, but I'm going to come out there and visit you one day if you don't mind. Well, now, if you...
That's great. Just give me a 1-day notice.
I will. If you had one piece of advice, we have a lot of young people out there that are looking at moving on. They're tired of working for the other guy. What would you tell them to watch for and to consider when they make a move and try to open up their own manufacturing or other type of business?
Well, I think there's I've worked for this. I graduated from university in 1972, and we were a tiny company back then. We had 5 employees when I joined. But, but as to what's going on, I would look in terms of in my industry, there's a tremendous demand right now for bicycle assemblers and for electrical bike assemblers. It would probably even getting a job, what I recommend is in like a Walmart store, as to become an assembler for them to learn the business a little bit. And then there's training courses.
Hello? All right. I think we just lost connection, or he is driving through an area that is dead out in that area. There's a street of highway there that's dead. So either way, maybe he can get called back in. If not, I want to just say thank you for joining us. And Kent, I hope Kent International continues doing well. And CEO Arnold Kamler, looking forward to meet you in person and taking a visit of your store. All right. Dave, are you there?
Nope, ran away.
You ran away?
I drove away.
Okay. I hear some snow in the background. I guess he's still connected. We're just not getting through.
Yeah, he's still on the line, so he's just probably in a bad area.
Okay. Let's give him about another minute and see if he gets out of there. We may have lost him totally. I'm not sure. But, I am excited about stories like this where someone says, look, we need to do this. We want to do this. And here he has this plan out here. These people are working. Look at the income coming into that little town of Manning. Folks, that's what it's all about. You know, you just got to want to do it and do it sometimes. And, you know, sure, you can tell by his language and the manner he's talking that he's excited to be here. And for these small towns around South Carolina, Florida, y'all got some small areas too that could use some industry. Pennsylvania, all of you. These are the type of things we need to be looking for. And if you are unhappy with the job situation or the taxes or the buildings that are going down the tubes in your area, get with your city council, get with your chamber of commerce, get with your county councils and tell them, hey, look, get out there and find somebody to come into these places. You can tax them instead of taxing us, please. And that's about how simple it is. Dave, it sounds like he's gone, so let's go ahead and disconnect if you would, so we can get the snow out of there, and I'll call him later. All right. Just to let everybody know, and I was going to bring this up to him, is PD Bicycle Company. This is a small company that has just opened in downtown Florence, and I'm going to try to get them on here as a follow-up to this. These young men decided that they wanted to try their hand at opening a new business, and they did so. And I actually drove by their store one morning before the show to see if anybody might be there. You know, sometimes these early risers with companies get there early. I was going to invite them to join us for the same conversation while he was on the line, but I'm still going to try to get them in here and talk about the adventures of opening up a new company. Okay. Let me double check on the chat line real quick and see what's going on. Let's see. GOP has made themselves two minority parties that sometimes work together. Yes, they are. Kent is on the line. Okay, good. Almost all main roads in Florida have a bicycle lane. Yes, they do, Dave. And, you know, I am so tickled when I'm seriously, folks, I am tickled to death when I go through towns and I see these bicycle lanes. You know, someone asked me the other day when the topic of the ones here in Florence came up, do we really need them? You know, you may believe this or not, but yes, we probably do. And I said probably. And I'm basing that on the number of people I see riding the bicycle daily who are riding them on the sidewalks, and they jump off the curb because other people are walking toward them. They'll jump off the curb, or they'll jump off the curb to get around people that are walking on the sidewalk in the same direction. And I keep thinking, you know, how easy would it be to lose control of that bicycle doing that? And traffic on this particular street is called Evans. And Evans is a very heavy traffic road. It's one of the main streets going into downtown Florence. And every single day you see bicycles shooting across the road or driving down the middle of the road in the turn lane or on, like I said, on the sidewalks. And while it sounds like a very minor issue, folks, unless you've been in a big city where they do have a lot of bicyclers, unless you've been overseas in Europe and Asia and seen the number of people that use bicycles, I guarantee you it would not be hard to fathom bicycle usage doubling right here in Florence if there's bicycle lanes. And the reason I say that, we have some very major businesses in the area of downtown. And I know a lot of them, a lot of those people that have bicycles. And I've asked a few of them since the council has been talking about this. If there was a legitimate bicycle lane and you live within 3 to 5 miles of downtown, would you consider riding your bicycle? And I've had more than one tell me in different words, and some of them in the same words, hell yes, I certainly would. I certainly would. It would save miles on my car. It'd save gasoline costs. It'd wear and tear on my tires. And on top of that, I'd be getting more daily exercise. And on top of that, folks, there'd be one less car holding up traffic on Evans Street, or whatever street they put these bicycle lanes on. Evans would certainly be one of them, I'm sure. So I think it's legitimate. I think it's a very, very legitimate thing to do. And I hope that the council does it. You know, I've seen them do a lot worse and stranger things. So I hope they do. I hope they do. All right, I want to take one more chance over here at the chat room. Wow, Bill Pickle is tickled. Yes, I am, Vito. Hey, glad to have you here. I get tickled.
There's another thing you can bring up
yes.
In support of the bicycle lanes, besides just your regular bicycles, because this I'm sure you may even have in your area. It is quite popular actually throughout all the states. Bicycles in tourist areas are also rentable. You know, you can rent them right on the boardwalk. You know, so pretty much anywhere you go, you can even rent bicycles. But as far as your roads go, a lot of people may not understand or even realize. Let's say you don't have the physical ability to ride a pedaled bicycle. You have many other options.
Right.
And you may see these on the road using the main lane. Any scooters, okay, or what they call the V or electric bikes, pedal assist bikes, mopeds, but even scooters, they don't have pedals on them. If it's 50 cc's or less, does not require a driver's license at all, nor does it require registration, insurance, or anything, and you are allowed to use the highway.
Which is dangerous.
Without any licenses or anything. And those lanes, because most of those bikes will only do a maximum, if you're lucky, about 30, 35 miles an hour. And that's if you really got a good one and souped up, you might be able to hit that speed. But you'll see them even on main roads and stuff. People use them all the time. You get about 100 miles to a gallon. And if you're only going short distances, like to work or whatever, as long as you're not worried about getting wet in the rain, but no, it's you'll see these on the roads. Well, this gets those bikes out of the main travel lanes. It gets these scooters into those bicycles. Right.
So, you know, we have a lot of people, Dave. We have a lot of people, you know, with McLeod Regional Hospital in downtown Florence. Which is the area's largest employer and where my wife is rapidly reaching a retirement age, works. And so we have a lot of people that go back and forth to doctor's appointments and stuff like that on their motorized wheelchairs. And so, you know, I can foresee that they would be using those lanes too, instead of the terrible rocky, bumpy, dipping, and all that kind of stuff, sidewalks that go down that direction, that it would be much safer for them to be in that bicycle lane. Now, I don't know the laws or what the city council has that they're trying to do with this, anything like that, but I would foresee that that would be a much safer place for them to ride.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now, you do have, like for us, we have lots of advantages down here with the villages and stuff where pretty much the whole community, all your main stores, your main roads, roadways and everything else, they have their own section for golf carts.
Right.
Now, we do have golf carts, which are also street legal. So, again, they can, you know, be used on the regular roadway. Now, of course, the bicycle lanes aren't wide enough for a golf cart.
Right.
But they have their own actual pathways and lanes that are paved, and you can pretty much get anywhere around this whole, you know, 20 some odd, 30 some odd mile worth of, well, it's a lot of property actually the village is covered.
Yeah. Now we have those, Dave, in our tourist areas, you know, in inland. I don't remember seeing anything like that, but I do know along the very long coast of South Carolina. All of the major, not so major too, cities that are on the coast, most of them have designated golf cart trails also.
Yeah, which pretty much gets you to all the stores and all your locations, and connected to all the doctors. I mean, all the buildings literally throughout the whole community out here is all connected in some way or fashion for golf cart access.
Yeah. Well, I know.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know several times I have walked downtown, and my wife got so mad at me the not too many weeks ago. I was at a meeting downtown, and I know what it was. It was her car was broken down, and it was in the shop. Well, I took my car up there because I had somewhere I wanted to go. I had two meetings, one at Elks Lodge and one at, what was the other one? Gosh, where was it? I can't remember now. Anyway, I took my car and dropped it off, and then I walked to my meeting, which was, it took about an hour. And then from that meeting, I went to the lodge, which took about 30 minutes. Just so happens both of these were on my way home anyway. And so I went there, and then after that, I walked home. It took me about 20 minutes. She got so mad because you walked through that neighborhood at night? And I said, yeah, and guess what? I made it home safe. And so, we got to get this. I'm scared to do this, that, and out of the way and get out there and be active and do stuff, And if a golf cart or a bicycle lane will help in transportation for those that only have bicycles. There's a lot of people, that just have a bicycle, especially those that are, live close to town and not doing too well. They have a bicycle for their transportation. So all for it. All right, folks. Well, I tell you what, it's top of the hour, and we can chat for another 2 hours, I'm sure. But I've got a meeting at noon, so I need to start heading down to the coast and then down to Beaufort, South Carolina for a meeting, and take about 2 hours, hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours. So I'm out of here. Y'all have a great day. We'll see y'all tomorrow right back here in the Pickle Barrel, Freaky Friday. And I do have some freaky things to bring up. Y'all have a good one. Dave, what's up next, sir? I'm getting out of here. Y'all have a great one. Bye-bye.
All right, Bill, be safe out there. Yeah, a ton of exciting adventures coming up today on American Patriot.